Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video, I'd like to discuss a client's custom plasma build. And the reason I want to discuss this system is because more and more every day now, I'm getting requests for custom system builds. Now, this particular client works at Exxon, so he was really detailed as far as what he expected out of the system and expected actually with the expansion capabilities of the system. Now, looking at this system, you can see all the additional ports that it has. We've got 4 limit or home switch ports added. These are GX16 3-pin connectors. You can see them there, they're right under the dust cover. And you can also see over here, he's got a 5-pin GX16, which will support a Proma THC if he decides to install it. And then he also has his relay out to his torch, and that is functional right now. So why I wanted to do this so much is because looking at a system like this, when you guys ask me, Vin, how much is it to install, GX16 ports or, do the wiring on all of this, what I want you guys to factor in is all of this stuff that you see before you typically is done on the fly because there's no system file for every specific system that you're running. So when you guys ask me to do the soldering, that's all done by hand. When you factor in all the labor involved with the soldering, when you factor in all of the shielding that has to be done, when you factor in all the graphics that have to be done, take that into consideration prior to ordering. Because more and more guys come to me and say, I want a system, but I'm trying to stay under a budget. Well, that's kind of hard to do when you're expecting custom work to be done. The best way to go about the situation, and this is what I even discussed with this client, is if you're uncertain about something, you can always ask me to put the actual ports in and not do any of the wiring. That way it streamlines your process of actually building the system so you guys are set to go from the start. Now, this particular client wanted to attempt to use soft limits, and then he wanted the availability to add the physical switches should he decide to. Now you can see ports already installed. You can see the tight tolerance there between the drive and the ports. Again, doing all of this is going to naturally take me time. And again, the most valuable thing I possess, like you, is your time, and my time is just as valuable. So when you guys ask me to do this, just take that into consideration, because when you factor in labor, parts, machining, soldering, it all tallies up, and then we factor in graphic design time. Okay, because these units are designed for you to be able to service them in the field. Now let me point this out because, again, I've gotten a lot of questions on this. If this client decides to add a Proma THC, for instance, you can see this graphic right here. It's allocated to have the wiring diagram on the system for him to wire his Proma in. Okay, all he has to do is purchase the cable, purchase the 5-pin connector, and he's set to go. Okay, so I mean, realistically, think about that. Think about the time it takes to do all this. Think about the time it takes to wire this in, and then you figure out that we don't have room for error here. I'm not selling what-ifs. I'm not selling maybes. I'm selling a system that's stable. And therefore, when you factor in that all these details have to be done to assure system stability, especially in a plasma platform that will be used under business criteria, you want to make sure we're not cutting corners. Okay? Same thing you have down here. You have the graphic. Matter of fact, there's the torch. Matter of fact, here's the Proma, but here's the torch. You can see GX16 3-pin diagram for relay. It's telling him the exact wiring diagram for the relay. Okay, in this particular instance, I even built the cable that's double shielded to support his relay. All he has to do is hook it up to his torch. So when you factor all of that in, all the grounding on the system is complete. Okay, because, and I've discussed this before, these units, the power supply is conductive. You've got your ground, which is green, coming in here to actually feed the power supply's ground. That's going to be conductive to the chassis. Chassis is then registered with the fluke to make sure that the ohm rating is acceptable, and usually it's 0 to 1. Okay, and when we come over here, you can see the ground lead coming in from the actual relay, and that's right here. That's the lead, and it goes right to a terminal. So this is all grounded already. Okay, he doesn't have to do anything except plug this in and go to work. Okay, you can see his diagram here. I've covered this many times because I get a lot of questions on this. Okay, think about the time it would take you yourself if you understood how to do graphic design, doing the graphics and doing all of this on pro-grade vinyl using 3M8518 glossy overlaminate. The overlaminate alone is $400 a roll. I'm just letting you know, it's registered for NASCAR use. Okay, I do not cut corners. And that's why these systems are the way they are. That's why most of you come to me. You come to me because you know I don't cut corners. Therefore, my prices don't cut corners. But be realistic. You know, I have guys that are coming to me on a daily basis saying that they're into, you know, a hobby use system. That is your preference as an end user. That is not my preference. I don't build these systems for a hobbyist. There is no difference whether this client works at Exxon or if he decides to just sit at home and cut widgets. This is designed to be accurate, to be productive, and to make, hopefully, the end user money, because I cannot see, logistically, in my brain, that you would own a robot that's made for production and not sell any of the product you're making. Now, there are guys, I'm sure, that do that, but it's not common, okay? So when you see all this detail, you can even see the design on his terminal splitter. It's labeled, so he can service that, okay? I mean, look at the detail in this enclosure. There is no stone left unturned. I mean, the clearance that I'm dealing with, just to give you an idea, on the back side, you can see the GX16 5-pin that if he decides to install his torch, THC, this is what he'll be working with. Okay, these are what GX16s look like for those of you who have not seen them. Okay? Now, if you look on the back side, and I want to point this out as well, if you look under here and you see the GX16s that are actually going to be used for switches, should he use them, look at the proximity of how close they are to the drive. That's not by mistake, guys. That's because if you keep the proximity of your wire runs as short as possible, you're mitigating EMI, because there's no way for it to get any type of penetration with a wire run that's basically a jumper lead. Okay? Keep your wire leads as short as possible, always, and it will dictate just how stable your system will be with the least possible amount of shielding required. Okay, that being said, of course, you know, the e-stop cables I hand build, these are using tin braided copper because we have a little bit of a longer wire run here. You can see it's properly ground drained to the base of the power supply. So you guys can take all of this information you're seeing, and I'm hoping you do, and use this for your own systems. And then when you validate how much time it would take you to build something like this, justify it. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I've explained in many of my videos, I don't want to be the cheapest. The cheapest does nothing for us. I'm a business. I'm here to make money, just like you are, many of you. But I want to do it the right way. And I want to provide you guys with a system that you will make money with very quickly. And I can tell you right now that for what I sell most of these systems for, depending on the contracts you have or your own creativity, you should be able to recoup easily your money within 3 months. Easily. A lot of guys recoup the initial investment within a month. And that's very, very common. So look at it from that perspective, and then also look at the perspective that all the accessories in this system are toollessly mounted so that you can service them easily. Not just the labeling, everything is made for easy serviceability. Okay? I try to make it the way that I would expect things to be done. Because if you're running a business, it's all about keeping things simple and effective. So I hope this video has been helpful. I did a video previously, I believe it was last week or a week before, on installing G540 switches. Well, now you can actually see the ports highlighted for a G540 in my enclosure. You can see your dust covers, which should be used because these protect these actual ports from moisture and dust, more or less moisture. And again, they should be in place when not in use, but you can see how neat this setup is. Now the client then can decide what he wants to allocate as far as switch location for which port, but everything here is set. You know, so I wanted to do this detailed so you guys understand exactly what we're looking at. And keep in mind, like I said, for every one of these GX16 connectors, you have multiple solder points, okay? And then we have to deal with shielding. So when you factor in that you're looking online at systems and you're looking at these Gerbil units, these Arduino units that, you know, a couple $100, factor in what you see here, compare it to it. Because I'm telling you right now, I already know there's nothing like it. And you already will find out very quickly there's nothing like it because it's extensive. It's labor intensive. And it is. And I'm telling you because I do it all. Everything you see here, I do. So I'm telling you right now that it's not that it's impractical, it's practical for use, but you're going to pay for it. And there is a price difference from reviewing an Arduino where, you know, your only accessibility to support is from the guy who put together this contraption, and then you guys end up contacting him numerous times most of the time and you never get feedback. This drive has a 3-year US warranty. It's the longest warranty in the industry of CNC right now. And that's why I deal with Gecko. They're excellent at support. You can call Marcus over there. He is in touch with me. We've done a lot of business over the years, and I can tell you right now, this is why if you do any form searches, whatever, that's how many of you find me, you find out really quick. These units are excellent. The difference is they're not cheap. I mean, they're not cheap for a reason. They're not going to compete with a $30 drive. There's just no other way around it. But if you want a system that's reliable, if you want to be productive, if you want to have as close to a full-scale system as possible, the sky's the limit with this unit if you understand it. So again, I hope the video has been helpful to those of you, especially that you're building your own system. You can see what you're dealing with. Now, whether or not you get the same results I do, that's up to you. What you accept for yourself is different than what I produce. I don't ever usually get to, unfortunately, meet most of my clients. So my presentation of my ability is what I'm showing you. Your presentation of what you'll accept is what you'll accept. There's a big difference there, you know? A lot of guys are contractors that work on their own house and accept certain things. A lot of, you know, high-end contractors like Mike Holmes, they're not going to accept certain things because they're presenting you something as a product. So there's a big difference there. When you pay me to do something, I'm assuming you're paying me to do the best job that I can, and that's what you see before you. So again, I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, please, by all means, ask. Just keep in mind, every port, and I can't emphasize this enough, as you guys become more prone to understanding CNC, every port you see has multiple solder connections. So if you want limit switches installed, right there is 12 solder connections, plus grounding, okay, plus machining, plus particular labeling if you have an allocation to which one of these ports you want allocated to what switches, okay? Time on my side is the most valuable thing I have. That means it's going to cost you. So keep that in mind as far as you building a system. Keep that in mind as far as your education level on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole of working on the system yourself. If you can do something yourself, analyze it. Say, do I really need to do that? The biggest thing I see now with CNC is the misconception of learning the software. Guys are so concerned about having a system that's ridiculous, but they don't even understand the software. Focus on the software. It will make your life easier. It will make you more productive. Learn that first. Then figure out what exact system you need. So again, guys, I hope the video has been helpful. If you guys have questions or require quotes, once again, message me direct at storm2313@gmail.com or through my eBay store. You'll see the link in the description. Again, I can do any custom job you'd like, pending the budget you have supports it. You know, I'll get questions on systems like this that are done with Raptor drives for plasma systems. Most of the time, it's extreme overkill. Okay? Not required because plasma systems have no load. So you don't need to run big motors on it. So keep that in mind. You can get by typically with 300-ounce motors. I don't care if the table is 10 foot. Usually you're okay with a 300-ounce motor because, again, we're just clearing distance. That's all we're looking at. And realistically, the table holds the actual weight of your substrate. So it's not like a mill. You're not producing vertical and horizontal loads all the time. So keep that in mind. Thank you all for your support. Take care.